I'm Peter Marsh, and it is time for another Aether and ATX video. So today's video is going to talk about the correlation between intelligence and consciousness and intelligence and happiness, okay? And so there's a lot to unpack today. First off, I want to talk to you about what I consume, the media I consume. So I watch a lot of YouTube videos, I watch Reels on Instagram, right? A lot of times they are what people would describe as the woo-woo aspect of manifestation, right? Which a lot of people might think is the entire aspect of manifestation, right? It's stuff that has little to no scientific evidence, and a lot of it is speculation and theory, and you have to believe in it. Then a smaller percentage of what I watch is videos of people that are in the field of science, that are college professors, that have published multiple books, right? That are working in labs, right? And they are testing out their own theories on consciousness. One video I watched early this morning, before I have to go to work and stuff, was this video where this guy, Donald Hoffman, was being interviewed. And that's what inspired the video I'm making right now. So I've seen a couple of videos of Donald Hoffman before, and he's talking about consciousness in all of them. In this particular video, he makes this metaphor where he's talking about how consciousness could be something that was developed outside of evolution. The main theory that scientists have is that our consciousness is something that we evolved to have, right? Our brains developed, and therefore our consciousness, our idea of self, was created by our developed brains, right? Because our brains developed, that's why we're conscious, right? And so it's the idea is that consciousness is rooted in the brain. He's suggesting there might be something besides that. So his metaphor that he made was, think about the icons on your desktop computer, right? You might have a specific icon that you've made to represent a specific file. You might have given it a specific color. And the idea that the reason why you do that is that you can quickly find that icon on your desktop and click on it and use it. And he's saying that the file itself doesn't look like the icon, and the file itself isn't that specific color. He used the color blue. He's the file itself is not blue, it's colorless, and the file itself doesn't have that shape of let's say a folder or whatever that represents it as an icon. Now, I love that metaphor because I feel that helps you understand how consciousness works, whether you think it's in the brain or whether you think it's something else, right? A lot of videos that I've watched recently have talked about how consciousness or intelligence is really the way that you tune everything else out and you focus on specific things, right? There's so much information around you at any moment. There's so much to process that if you sat and tried to process every single aspect of what's around you in the environment, every single aspect of what's happening to you in the moment, you would just sort of be frozen. You'd be overloaded, right? It's if we're using these computer metaphors, when your computer, when you have so many tabs open, or if you're trying to run multiple things at the same time that require a lot of, data or whatever, the computer freezes up. And that's what would happen to us if we weren't able to make these sort of shortcuts, right? So the overall message that so many of these videos that I watch, the things that I read, have is that your consciousness is able to get you to focus on very specific things that are related to your experience, right? And then the woo-woo side, right, the manifestation side would be well, what you focus on creates your reality, right? So if you focus on positive things, then you're going to have a positive experience. If you focus on negative things, you're going to have a negative experience, right? And then I've said in these videos, I've seen in other videos, that your experience that you've had throughout your life creates your belief system, and your belief system is what makes you see specific things or focus on specific things in your experience, right? So let me just give one example. Let's say that I have a mindset that I am bad with money, right? that like I do not know how to manage money. So I basically, as a kid, I was poor, right? And my family didn't have money. And then as an adult, I haven't landed a job where I'm like able to be financially carefree, right? So my experiences have given me this belief that I am bad with money. And so therefore, whenever things dealing with money come up, my belief always goes, well, you're bad with money, right? So I will just find evidence of all the reasons why I'm bad with money. Now, I actually believe all the stuff that I've just said, right? But I want to add one more factor to this. I look at all the different people I interact with on a daily basis, and I feel like there are different levels of intelligence with each person. And of course, there's different types of intelligence too, right? There's emotional intelligence. There's sort of like this analytical, scientific intelligence, right? There's sort of this day-to-day, maybe street smarts intelligence, right? There's intelligence when it comes to literature, right? I'm not at the moment able to classify all different types of intelligence, but I think we can just get on the same page and agree that you can have a sharper intelligence in different types of intelligence, right? So it's not like, oh, well, there's this baseline type of intelligence, and then there's, this person's really smart, and then this person's not really smart, right? I do think that the overall sense of intelligence, right, when we take like an IQ test, right, I think it's based on what you're able to process and what you're able to understand. I believe that's how IQ tests work, right? So I feel like on a daily basis, I interact with people, and there are people that I feel like have very high IQs, and there are people that have maybe low IQs. But what's always been interesting to me, and this might seem very obvious, is that sometimes the people that have very low IQs are able to accomplish a lot more than the people that have very high IQs, right? They just, it's like before, and I was talking about like running those programs and stuff, they know what to focus on to get the results they need in life, and so they focus on those things. And so there's tons of stuff that you don't need to focus on to bring yourself happiness. Like, you don't have to think about all the tremendous horrors that are going on in our world right now, all the political madness. You don't have to think about those things. You can just think about, well, I need to make X amount of money. I can make that money by doing this. You don't have to have a high IQ to make that connection. And so you're able to meet your needs and tune out the bigger picture stuff. So I don't necessarily think that having a high IQ is going to make you happier than someone that has a low IQ. So that brings us up to a statement that I think that almost every person can agree on, right? Which is the statement of ignorance is bliss, right? And I think what happens is, as you become more aware, as you learn more, it kind of flips back and forth, right? It goes like, you're ignorant of things when you're a child, you're very happy. Then you become more aware of things. As you learn more and you have more experiences, then things seem darker and more dangerous. Then you learn more and you have more experiences, and you realize that you can deal with those darker and dangerous things. And I think it's kind of like you go up higher and higher, and it goes back between, this is too much to handle, I can handle this. This is too much to handle, I can handle this. And so I think that ultimately there is a correlation between your intelligence and happiness, but I don't think it's an intelligence that's based just on your IQ. I think that it's some kind of amalgamation of intelligence and wisdom, right? I think that you, just based on your brain and your genetics, you might have a higher IQ than other people, and you might be able to process more than other people. But the ability to process bigger things, more complex things, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be happier. The skill that maybe we could say is related to intelligence, or maybe it's wisdom, is the skill is being able to tune out what doesn't directly affect you, and therefore, if it is a negative thing, it's not going to make you feel negative. But the ability to tune out that which is unnecessary. I don't know if that's intelligence, I don't know if that's wisdom, but that skill, the ability to just cancel out which does not directly affect you and doesn't directly affect what will bring you happiness and peace, that is the most valuable skill. And, I think I need to do some more research into this. Like, one other thing I want to point out, and I've said this in previous videos, and I've kind of gotten my hand slapped for, making a whole video about this, but I think that our ability to communicate affects the validity of our message and, getting our point across. And we might have these amazing thoughts in our head, but our ability to communicate them, if we don't have those communication skills developed, we're not going to seem as intelligent as we potentially are, right? And I feel like it's all a matter of choice, right? Like, I could read more, do more research, I could do research on communication, and I'd be better able to explain videos like this, like ideas like this, right? But I make that choice on a daily basis of, well, instead of doing that, I'm going to do this. So I think that, what you choose to focus on, if you're able to sync up what you want in life with what you choose to focus on, then you can have your own feeling of happiness and peace. And when I say happiness and peace, I mean that, more often than not, you don't have these negative, overwhelmed feelings. You have feelings of, satisfaction and calmness. And I think that the real problem that I have, I can't speak for anyone else but myself, but it seems like most people have this problem, is focusing on what to develop about ourselves and syncing that up with what we want to experience. Because I think that we feel like we have to focus on certain things, we feel like we have to focus on a 9-to-5 job, or we have to focus on making these people happy, or we have to focus on making money. There's all these things that we feel like we have to focus on, and so you have to have these specific skills for each of those things. So you focus on developing those skills, whether you're focusing on them consciously or unconsciously, you're developing them. But then there is what makes you truly happy and gives you that sense of peace and contentment. And if you're able to develop the skills and make yourself, develop the skills that access that feeling, right? And so it's an ongoing process, and it's a matter of figuring out what skills do I need and what do I have to just not pay attention to, not care about at all, it's not important. What skills do I have to develop to give me that sense of happiness and peace? So like I just said a minute ago, my communication skills could be way better, right? There's someone that could more eloquently explain everything I just explained. That's something I have to work on, right? Because I do feel this need to communicate the stuff with you and communicate the stuff with myself. Because I think that this is where peace and happiness lies, in developing yourself, right? Using the intelligence that you have to have the experience that you want to have in life. Let me know what you think about this, and I'll see you guys next time.